Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, another Next Talks and another great pharma leader today. And our guest is Luigi Boaretto, the Strategic Planning and Global Commercial Excellence Lead and Executive Management Committee member of Zambon. Luigi, come stai?
Bene, thank you for this interview. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and most important, good morning or good evening to everybody who is listening us.
Thank you, Luigi, and let's deep dive into our conversation. First question, Luigi, seems that you have a quite rounded experience, ranging from managing a complex chemical manufacturing site to leading a global pharma commercial excellence function. Is there anything in common in all the different roles you have covered until now?
Well, you're right. I mean, I'm not the typical linear growth in the pharma business. I had different experiences, but at the end of the day, I can tell you is I did always the same. Basically, I just try to solve issues, problems, whatever they are, and consequently improve performances. That are the two major things that I did. Being more on the operational side, more even on a chemical side, or completely different in a strategic set, in a commercial set. At the end of the day, you learn that you need two major things. One is you have to dedicate yourself to help your people to grow. If your team, if your people are growing, then performance increases, and then even more, you know, if there are issues or problems, they are solved very smooth. And the second, I would say that it may be strange to be in common. Don't forget to go in the field. Very often, especially as a commercial excellence, we're trying to design the best tools, the best processes for our sales force. But are we really taking the time to go in the field with our sales force to understand what is happening there? I think that's crucial. It's the same thing. You can walk in the chemical side and see how things are going directly in the valves, the pumps, and whatever. Or you can really go with the doctors, with the physicians, with your teams, and understand what are the needs, how I can solve in a better way, how I can help my team. I think that's the two major things that I learned.
Thank you, Luigi. Next question. Seems that you are pharma's Iron Man, since you practice endurance sports for which you have to be very persistent and patient. So did that shape your way of leadership somehow?
Yeah, you knew even that. Okay, yeah, that was a kind of big change in my life, because honestly, that was a kind of bet when I had to celebrate my 40 years and say, okay, I will do a triathlon, because I never did sport before, and so I was training for that, and I did, and then I continued to practice this endurance sport, and indeed, this sport changed the way you live, but also the way you live the others. I could say that four things maybe that comes to my mind. The first one, you need a lot of training. I said that endurance sport are sincere sport. If you train a lot, you perform well, but you have to train a lot. The second thing is the planning. That's maybe even now in my role of strategic planning that's coming inside. You cannot start a marathon running like hell. You cannot plan a sequence in the triathlon if you are not really careful. Okay, how much energy I put now, then how I did the change, how I jumped the bike, and whatever. You have to really plan in advance. Maybe then it's easy to imagine that you must be resilient, because this race, this competition can last several hours, so you have to really stay there. And in that hours, you recognize that it's not really your body, the one that makes the difference is your mind. You have to think every time, every moment, okay, what I'm doing, what is missing, stay concentrated on the present, not in the future. Your mind is leading you.
So, how long do you practice triathlon?
Well, actually, I mean, I did competitions for some years. Then I'm just training for that, but I was able, I mean, to reach what is called the 7.3 Ironman, which is basically you have to swim for 2 kilometers, then to go in the bike and stay 90 kilometers, and finally you do the half marathon. So it's quite a long, quite a long practice, and so to do that, I mean, now I train 3 times per week, 1 time swim, and 1 time running, and 1 time biking. Not all the weeks, but depends.
A good mix indeed.
Yeah.
Next question. You pay a lot of attention to change management, and this whole pandemic is purely a massive change catalyst, certainly. But biggest learning during the pandemic related to change management and leadership, which you faced so far.
But you know, yes, you're right. Change management was clear part of my life, and by background, what I studied in university was actually engineering. So engineering is a lot about, I mean, rationality, brain. And so normally you approach a change in a very rational way. You plan the change in a rational way, but when there are people involved, and you start the change, you immediately recognize it doesn't work. That was one of the key learnings when I did my first big change, and that's why we are basically not only led by our brain. There is a lot to do with emotions, and I guess that COVID put us really in this environment. You can imagine, well, how you can enter in a doctor office during the COVID pandemic and just start saying, okay, promoting your product. No way. You have to start to listen, asking the emotion of the people you are in front of you, try to understand what they were trying. They were really overwhelmed about requests. Patients were even dying. So I mean, I think COVID put again in the top of our agenda the fact that we need to take care about emotions, need to take care of the whole of the people that are around us, and obviously even our customers. And I think we experienced that in our family during the pandemic, and in our business. I think that all of us will say, okay, everybody now is not just working with their brain, right? There is a lot of irrational things that were happening in our environment. But that's part of our life. I think that's part of life. So yes, COVID put ourselves in a condition where we were probably closer to our inner part. And then there were a lot of things that was changing. I mean, the fact that we are dealing so much with digital now, the fact that we found alternatives to the kind of prison that we were put inside. So how creativity works in this situation, how it's possible to learn so many things in quite a short time. Our grandfathers were jumping in Zoom in a few minutes, and okay, how it was possible. That's the great thing to be a human being.
Absolutely. At least it's made us stronger, right? So hopefully.
Yeah. And so coming back to the change management, if you want to really change a way of working, a habit, you cannot just plan perfectly with the rationality. You need to put in the equation also, okay, what is the other part? What will be the emotional impact? If a rep is used just to have paper or interact directly, and we jump in with all these fancy, nice things, what they could feel? They will be immediately happy with the news, or there will be some reaction, or there will be some difficulties. If we don't think about that, the power of transformation will not really hit the ground.
Thank you, Luigi. Next question. You had a possibility or pleasure, if you can say so, to work in many and different countries, from Europe, Latin America, Africa, even China. And what are your key learnings when you speak about different countries?
Well, first of all, yes, culture are really different in the different places of the world. So what I found useful was really to study with the history of that countries, because at the end, the people that you meet are, depending also on the history that they are behind, and you have to have the willingness to learn from them, from this the country where you are living. For sure, there will be things that you like, and my suggestion is really that you have to enjoy that good things that you find were not present before. At the same time, you have to escape the trap to think of the good things that you left behind, because otherwise the temptation is to always compare, okay, it was better in the previous place, and you don't enjoy what is the good things of the new place and the new culture. Say that there are differences in the cultures. At the end of the day, when you are going into the human interaction, the daily interaction, how to motivate people, how to really helping them to grow, how to really achieve a result. Well, each of us has different opinion about who is the creator of of the human beings, right? Can be God, can be Allah, whatever. But one thing cannot be doubtable: it was the same. We don't know which one, and basically we are all done in the same way. So at the inner part is a combination. We are a fantastic mix of brain, of heart, and spirit. That mix is the base of our reality, and if you are able to understand how to deal with these three parts, I think you immediately recognize that all these differences that you can perceive at the beginning, they are not big enough. Actually, diversity is really an enrichment for you. You see things that you were not able to see in that way before. So to me, it was a real pleasure. Actually, that's what I'm missing more in these 2 years. You know, we cannot fly it anymore so frequently, and I'm looking forward finally to take a plane or take a plane at the pace and frequency that we were used before.
Hopefully, we will be there very soon, flying and meeting people.
I know that you are planning to drop me. Let's see.
Community really is willing to participate, but of course, let's see. It's COVID now. You'll be alone. Right? Next one. What was the best leadership advice you received and that still inspires you today?
Well, you know, everybody has his own. I mean, I try to be simple, not simplistic, but simple, and I found a kind of guidance that I think it's easy to follow, or it's easy to understand, not so easy to follow, easy to understand, and could work very well. But basically, is just try to treat your collaborators, your team, as you would like to be treated by your boss. So if you are in a moment that you complain that your boss is not listening to you, okay, go to your team and try to listen to your team. If you are complaining because, I mean, you don't have so many opportunities, okay, let's try to give more opportunities to your team. If you believe that you are not learning so much from your boss, okay, let's start to discuss with your team and see if they need some support, if you can help them in growing. When you do like this, sometimes, or maybe even often, then even your boss change a bit habits towards you, and that is something that I've seen in my life. You know, it can be that you have a fantastic boss, can be that you have a normal one, but it doesn't change the way you would like to be treated. Just apply it. It is not easy? Eh? I mean, because when or you have to really be strong in some decision, but explain why, or be supportive to your team is really quite a difficult task. But I think at the end of the day, if you do it in the right way, the best thing that can happen is really that your team supports you and you have a very good atmosphere in this part of our life that is very important. We spend so many hours in the job time that I mean is really a pity to not use in the best way possible.
Mm. And outside office, Luigi, I mean, you have a partner, 3 sons. So how do you create work-life balance? I think this is certainly the toughest thing, right?
Well, actually, I don't know if I'm really balanced. I mean, to know that we should interview my partner, my sons, and then but I would say that at least I feel that in the recent years, I feel myself much more balanced, or more balanced than in the past. And I guess that was because, I mean, when I started to work, I mean, I had a clear indication, a clear training from the environment that time. That was, Luigi, remember, please separate your private life from your work environment. There are two different worlds. If you want to survive, separate them. And really was struggling like hell to create this wall between these two environments, because they were pushing one from one side, the other from the other side, and you were always in the middle and try to no. And you know, nowadays, again, probably thanks to this digital revolution, this change in the environment, I mean, everything is much more cross interconnected. I mean, and what I tried, what I was at the end was natural to do, and I started, it was positive, was really to open the windows and the doors of this in this wall. For sure, we have to keep something still separate, for sure, but to bring my personal life into job environment was even a way to have a better climate inside the team. You can really use even some personal experience to give some messages and to be more known, to me really even stimulating the creativity and a lot of benefits. And you don't even feel guilty if there is the phone ringing, is your son, your partner, whatever, because they even know each other, so it is open. On the other way, you know, now physically the office entered in our houses, right? When we started to use really the digital connections, the video conferences, we were jumping into the houses of our teams, and you started to say something that you were not exposed, and that also was I mean, a way to bring the offices in your house, and then the flexibility of our instrument. We started to enjoy smart working, and we learned even that I mean, you can even be more productive if you start the job, then you stop, then you go to the shopping, and then you come back, and then you continue, and then over the night you take again. If you use the flexibility in the real sense, which is not only one sense, I mean, I'm not trying to find even every time more hours to perform your job every year more, but if you go from one side to the other, if there is this flow, I think that's a clear enrichment for your private life, but also for your job and for your home environment. At least that's what I experienced. Hopefully, it's something that is not uncommon.
Thank you very much. Very meaningful, Luigi. And let's move forward to the quick fire questions, which we prepared for you. And the first one is best triathlon result so far.
Yeah, it was 5 hours and 22 minutes for this 7.3 Ironman. So it was this 2 kilometers, 2 kilometers swimming, 90 kilometers biking, and 21 kilometers running.
Fantastic. Best Italian meal ever? There are many, right?
It will be difficult for you to find because it's my mother homemade ice cream. It's fantastic. I mean,
Gelato, that's fantastic.
Gelato, yes.
Ferrari or Lamborghini?
Ferrari, no way, no way. Especially when they had the possibility to visit, you know, the manufacturing site and then to go try the car. Well, it's great. Ferrari is great.
It's Italy, right?
Yes, you know, it's actually, you know, the famous red passion, you know, and it's not just, you know, the beauty of the technology, it's the beauty of the history of that little town that was the base of this incredible car, and even the community. Maybe that you know, but all these cars, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Dallara, Ducati for the bikes, they are all 20 kilometers far from the other. It's a kind of district. It's incredible. Just visit it. Emilia Romagna. Go.
I was actually in the Ferrari museum and factory. Was really a great experience. So
it is.
Next one word which describes you best.
I hope it is passionate. I see myself passionate about several things, including my job.
Favorite quote?
Well, okay. Having done marathon probably is something that is understandable. A thousand miles journey begins with a single step. And believe me, the first step is the more difficult. Not only in the sport, in this kind of sport, but if you think about the big change of your life, the most difficult process was to take the decision to do it. A lot of hours, a lot of efforts, a lot of years even to go there. When you start to move, then one step follow the others, and if you have trained, planned, and you have resilience, you arrive at the end, and it's really nice.
Thank you very much, Luigi. It was a very great interview. My pleasure, and hopefully to see you in May in Rome.
Really looking forward. Thank you again, and all the best to you and to all the people that is listening this webinar. Bye.
Thank you.